Hello everybody, welcome to Final Fantasy Month here at Video Game Movie Anatomy. We're celebrating the release of Final Fantasy XV. So today we're going to be looking at Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. Stay with us.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Video Game Movie Anatomy.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Video Game Movie Anatomy right here on the Popcorn Talk Network. I am one of your hosts, Internet's Mark Donica. You can find me on Twitter at Mark Donica, joined as always by the rest of the squad. What up? We got Mrs. Stacey Shuttleworth.
Hi guys, I'm Stacey Shuttleworth. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Stacey Shuttles, or Twitter, Instagram, and all over the web at Nerds Doing Stuff, where I continue to be a nerd doing stuff.
Patrick Dees.
What up, nerds? We're talking Final Fantasy. I'm excited to be here. You can find me at Peter the Dees on Twitter. Please tweet at me why it's important that I know more about Final Fantasy in general.
Just in general?
Just in general, not just this one,
over.
just in general. Because I am jumping, like, I am very gung-ho about 15. I'm not going to lie. I'm very optimistic about this title, considering what went on in our country this week. I need something to just lose myself in for the holiday season. So I was excited to jump into this movie and maybe get a little bit more context.
Well, most of the Final Fantasy movies rarely connect to each other. We started seeing that in Final Fantasy X. Actually, I guess we started seeing it. Did we see it in Kingdom Hearts before, or did Final Fantasy X come out close? Whatever. Regardless.
Yes.
This movie I found interesting. It has a long history of maybe we make it a game, maybe we make it a short, maybe we release it like this. But Tetsuya Nomura, in his infinite wisdom, went, you know what, let's go full length. And even, we're watching the original release that was out in 2005, not the quote-unquote complete release that was in 2009, that had more footage, more backstory on Cloud, more of a lot of things. So if you didn't get it, we're watching Final Fantasy VII, Advent Children. This one, an ex-mercenary is forced out of isolation when three mysterious men kidnap and brainwash the city's children affected with the geostigma disease. That's actually a much more simplified way to put how this movie was.
Yeah, that was pretty concise. That was pretty good.
Concise.
I wish I'd had that going in.
It really goes into nothing of what is actually going on behind the scenes there. It is the most basic you can get.
And the one thing I will say about the movie is, this is 100% for, really? This is 100% for, sorry, I saw a preview into the future. This is 100% for the fans.
Yeah.
This isn't, hey, here's what happened in Final Fantasy VII to catch you up. It's the live stream. Just starts with the live stream.
You need to know what happened in Final Fantasy VII, or you're going to be a real lost.
Y'all gotta do your homeworks.
Yeah.
So, Patrick.
Yeah, just...
How'd that go?
First reactions.
Yeah, I just, like, Lost doesn't describe it. Rarely do I get to a point where I have to come in this room and go, what did I just watch?
Really?
Yeah. So every week I say that.
There you go.
But it's from a therapeutic. Like, I understood the arc. I could identify with the characters. That I literally leave going, what? Wait, what was that? Like, I literally, that's why I think I texted you guys both. I was like, it's going to be a really interesting show, because I literally didn't know how to parse that. It is, I think, to your point, right, it's just not accessible if you haven't played 7.
No.
Did you guys play 7? Were you part of the phenomenon that was that game? And is that like a thing? Did you play?
It was a thing. I could not get past the turn-based. I couldn't do it. I tried, and I followed along with the story. I tried several times to get into the Final Fantasy series. Could not do the turn-based over and over and over, and I desperately wanted to, because I loved the character design, the music, everything about it was appealing, except for the gameplay, and I couldn't do it.
So I know your connection is similar to my connection with the Final Fantasy VII series, where we got the majority of our homework from the Kingdom Hearts series.
That's where a lot of my information came from originally. Yes.
I should rephrase that. My uncle had a PlayStation 1.
Okay.
He got a demo disc with... Actually, no, he
Remember
had...
demo discs?
Demo discs.
Yeah.
Demo discs.
YouTube.com/funhouse. Now I'm trying to remember if it was a demo disc or the full game, because I think it was the double thing. But regardless, that's not as important, because what I did was watch the intro cinematic over and over and over again.
Okay.
Because it was like, this is so
Awesome.
cool!
Yeah.
Great intro.
At that time, I mean, not now, but
No.
at that time...
Yeah.
Whew, something super special.
Did you play the game? Were you like a part of that? Look, I know that game is beloved, right? Like, I mean, it is it is in rarefied air when people talk about their favorite games of all time. Something about that game resonated with people to a degree that like most games do not. Was that you, Mark? Did you play the game? Did you finish it? You
No,
just watched that intro.
I just watched the intro cinematic over and over again, and the majority of my knowledge came from Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
And trying to go back to that game has been very difficult because a lot of changes have been made to turn-based RPGs since then. The world is great, the music is great, the characters are great. That's why I'm more excited than most. Well, that's not true. As a non-fan, I'm excited that we're getting the remake because they want to make it feel like the original one felt.
Yep.
Like it's all memory based. It's not like Chain of Memories. It's not based on any sort of actual. We're just going to update it. It's going to be turn based. It's going to be that. Let's recreate this how people think or how people felt it was. So I'm excited for that version.
As am I. I skipped it too. I'm totally with you. Growing up, way too ADD for turn-based stuff as a child. Like I'm like, no. I got things to do and other things to shoot. Like no.
I need to jump in there and just wildly attack everything. That was where I was at that point.
Not my jam. I'm not proud of that. As a grown-ass man, I've learned to play some turn-based games. We were just talking off mic a little bit about Child of Light comes to mind, like a recent JRPG-ish type game, turn-based game, which I genuinely love. So I'm with you, Mark. Like as it relates to the remake, like if they do keep that same combat system, I think right now is the right time for me to get into it. I authentically hope it feels and resonates the way it did with everybody else.
So the movie, how first? Actually, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we get into our first segment, which is a speed run, and that is the sort of a thing where it's a quick review. You look on the back of a box when you're at your local GameStop, Best Buy, what have you, and you see a little blurb. For example, Mortal Kombat has a cheesy script but nails the spirit of the game. Or if we're talking about one of my favorite franchises, Street Fighter, Street Fighter's costume designer was the only person who did their job on this film, actors and all. We want to hear it. What do you have for speed runs? That looks like a paragraph. Please enlighten us, Patrick.
No, we gotta have this one.
My paragraph?
I want to see that paragraph.
All right, so this is so actually what I did. So we talk a little bit about the inside baseball about how we write our speed runs, and so I literally finished the movie and I wrote the word still on my paragraph. I wrote the word huh. I came back and kind of thought through it, and here's what I've got. It is a little bit long-winded, but I'll try and be succinct. I wrote, fans of the Final Fantasy VII will enjoy seeing the whole gang back together and kicking ass again, but Advent Children doesn't do anything to make the narrative accessible or interesting to the newcomer. The camera work and fight choreography were best in class, and the action sequences were certainly impressive enough, but this is less movie and more fan service.
That's pretty solid.
Okay.
That's a good one. That's a good review. Rotten Tomato, call us. Rotten Tomato. Just one.
I know.
Not all of them.
Just one
tomato.
Yep. It's with the splat.
We'll start a new website. Stacey, how about you?
Man, okay, so I agree completely with everything you said. So I'm going to go with my little less serious speedrun.
Please do.
In this case. So either worry about counting the individual hairs on Cloud's head or following the plot of the movie. You really can't do both. And let's be honest, you're probably going to have more success counting every hair on his head.
It's pretty good hair tech. It's pretty good.
That's solid hair tech for back then.
2005.
Great.
That was pretty damn good hair tech. I was impressed.
Stared at it for a long time.
And they were very proud of it. You can tell it's moving even when there's nothing going on. All of their Tifa's hair just moves constantly.
Just a wave.
Because it can.
Yeah, because
this is new. This is new.
Even a character like Loz, who has very short hair, is still waving like it's a flipping wheat field.
For sure.
Why not?
Because it's brand
new. It's majestic.
Yeah, it was
pretty sweet.
Pretty magic.
Pretty beautiful. All right. So yeah.
This will be good.
Advent Children is strictly for the fans. Do not expect any sort of a backstory, but you're going to enjoy some fights and some music. That alone will get you through this movie.
Yes.
So totally agree. Every time, I usually come into speedruns looking to have it be a little scathing. I go out of my way to be biting during the speedrun because I kind of enjoy that. And I'm absolutely with you. You just said, Mark, I think the fights were really fun to watch. The choreography was dope.
Awesome.
And they did a really cool job with the steady cam look to it. You were in the middle of it. And again, way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I mean, you lose sight of the fact this is 2005. At least this, it's not that well implemented today a lot of times. So there was a lot that was really impressive about this. It would have been really interesting had I known who Cloud was.
You didn't even know who Cloud
I know,
was?
I know
that's-
Cloud.
Okay.
I know Sephiroth.
Okay.
So I knew Tifa. I knew of them, right? Because you can't. They're just kind of. They're a cultural touchstone.
Yeah.
I mean, like.
But when you get into your Cat Safe, or
Nope.
Kate Sith, I always
Yeah.
do that. Barrett.
So I knew of Barrett.
Okay.
Although sounded a little bit more racist than I would have maybe always thought.
Well, it didn't have a voice in the original game.
Okay,
That's the
there you
thing,
go.
Is
Yeah.
a lot of the main cast voices from
Yeah.
this followed over from Kingdom Hearts because that's the first time where
got
those
it.
characters were voiced.
All right.
So that was another sort of connecting thread where you're like, oh, Mina Suvari, what's she up to? Oh, I guess
Yeah.
she's Aerith again.
Yeah.
Doo-doo-doo. The more you know.
The more you know. I mean, yeah.
I'm an idiot.
It was a nice combination of like old school actors turned voice actors to the regular cast of voices that we have. We'll get into cast in a moment,
Yeah.
but we also have because we're going to talk about the quote unquote plot. It was there. It was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Our
Kind
controller toss moment. And that's that moment where you're watching the movie and you have either to yourself or out loud. Most of the time it's out loud. You have got to be kidding me! And you throw your controller across the room. This one, I was actually pretty conservative with. There weren't too many.
Yeah.
I mean, mostly because I saw this movie in 2005.
You did?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
I told you.
own this, correct?
I own
Yes.
the DVD.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got the UMD for my PlayStation Portable.
That's
back
legit.
In the day.
That is legit.
I still haven't gotten the Blu-ray with the new extended version, but I watching this again several years later. There's still so many things where it's like, oh, I'm just accepting that, just this, just that.
Yeah.
But there are a couple.
There
There
are.
are a couple.
There are. I think one of my biggest ones was actually kind of a plot and like moral of the story disconnect that happened towards the end.
Sure, go ahead.
So we have this huge moment where all of Cloud's friends come in and he kind of realizes, oh, I'm not alone. And you have that scene where they're all launching him up the building,
Yeah.
which
Yes,
is completely
yes.
unrealistic,
Yeah.
but
That's
really cool.
classic
okay?
anime.
Loved it. It was great. And then after that, they all sit on the airship while he goes and fights Sephiroth alone.
Well, no,
Like,
that was his
unity.
fight.
I know, but yeah,
That
but
was-
explain
well,
that to
and
me.
I
know,
understand
thank
that.
you.
They keep saying it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't actually follow like the logic that they're trying to tell with this like
True, but I think
story.
if they didn't have Yuffie's line of "he's such a pain in the ass," I think it would have been a lot more like, "Oh, okay." At least some people are like, "But he's all right, whatever,
Yeah.
fine, let him fight, let them fight."
Okay. Fine.
But no,
But
I can see that.
it was just a weird like, oh wait, no, we're regressing all of a sudden a lot.
Well, it's
So-
different when the Bahamut versus Kadaj is a little different. They're in the boonies. They're in the and I see your eyes are already.
No,
wandering from
I'm
your
here to
head.
learn. I'm
Big
here.
monster
I'm
with
here to
wings
learn.
that was
Got
The
it.
flying
giant,
around.
giant monster that got
Giant
summoned.
monster.
Perfect. Okay.
It's
That's
a
it.
I'm here
callback
to
to a
learn.
summon in the Final Fantasy games.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, but that was there were people immediately in danger. Children,
Right.
families, innocents.
Sure.
Whereas they went
Okay.
out to the boonies. Nowhere.
Yeah.
There was nobody around. It was a junkyard like most anime big fights have. And
Okay.
they're like, you know what? They can go all out here. We'll just get in the way. We'll just chill in the airship.
Okay. All right, I'll accept that.
All right.
I will accept that.
See, I've seen it too many times.
I've-
4 or 5. Maybe it's maybe too much.
So what?
Yeah, it's a lot. But dude,
It
the church fight is one of my favorite fights in
It's a good
any
fight.
movie.
Okay.
I
It's a good
love
fight.
that fight so much because Lowe's is, and I've seen this both in Japanese and in English. I like the Japanese one a little bit better just because of anime. But Lowe's Japanese actor is so, especially from the crying in the beginning, is so sort of silly with it. Not necessarily a comedic character, but he has a lot more fun. Whereas Fred Tedashore, I never know how to pronounce his name, but he's the voice of the Hulk, and you could probably kill me. But he's just pure gruff tough guy.
Got it.
So and that's fine. That's fine. But we're getting a little bit off topic. I'm sorry.
This is
I know.
a conversational
We're talking.
podcast.
Controller toss moment for you, Patrick.
You know, this is tough. I think I'm just gonna go right with the intro. They're gonna make this accessible. I knew what I was in for 3 minutes in when they tried to very succinctly explain Sephiroth and like, wait, what? And they just went through that kind of at Mach 6 and then, all right, you're in this, now
True.
deal with it. And I'm like, all right, I know what but please return your seat backs and tray tables to their full upright lock position. I know what I'm watching. And at the very least, to the movie's credit, they got that out of the way, so there wasn't like some surprise midway through, and I'm like, oh, this isn't what I thought. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and
strap in 3D glasses.
Yeah.
Put your seatbelt on. We're at Universal Studios.
Ready to do
Enjoy
this. So
the ride.
it was not like, it wasn't an angry toss. It was like a, all right, let's do this.
It's like another cutscene.
Don't
Yeah,
need
I
this
know.
now.
It's like Metal Gear Solid 4. How long is this one
Yeah,
going to be?
gonna go make a sandwich at this point.
Somebody's crying. All right, whatever. Okay.
Right.
Where'd that ham go?
Yep.
Mine is actually a plot moment too, and it's one that bothers me so much, but it's like whatever. We got a cool fight out of it.
Okay.
Is the realization that the essence of Mother becomes like Kadaj puts it all over himself, and you realize, oh, he's a Sephiroth clone. And it's not, oh, he's a new Sephiroth. He's the same Sephiroth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if they had said something about the live stream, like, interacting with that and, like, that's how his memories came back or something, I would understand that.
Okay.
But the fact that it was Cloud, essentially, Cloud, I remember you killing me, I'm gonna kill you back, was really, really ridiculous. And Kadaj's double sword turned into the long sword, and then after he faded away, it turned back into the double sword. And he wasn't wearing Kadaj's clothes; he was wearing Sephiroth's clothes.
Oh, yeah,
That is true.
It
was
I had a
just
problem with that.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
That got nuts.
But we got a cool fight out of it.
It was great.
It was a great fight. But yeah, the whole point of the Advent children, the next generation thing was completely undermined again there.
Yeah, all of the kids were just like, "Hey, where's Cloud? Cloud, you want to hang out?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go check on her. You want to hang out later?"
Hey, Cloud, I want to hang out.
If the cure was like in the kids, or the kids were the future, literally were the future, and were the cure for the world,
Something.
and it could be some weird like anime Ash turned to stone so all the Pokemon cry and bring him back to life sort of a situation, maybe a little bit more accepting. But this one, it may have gotten a little bit too overindulgent.
Convoluted.
All right, sure. I mean, I still want Kingdom Hearts 3 to come out and to be able to buy a copy because Tetsuya Nomura watches everything with his name on it. So, just telling you, we still love you. Excited for Kingdom Hearts 3, whenever
Very
that'll
excited
happen.
for Kingdom Hearts 3.
2019.
I'll wait. I'm okay with that.
What's it, 2.5396?
No.
Like, how many versions have there
I'll
been
take
now?
that one too.
I
That
bet
is,
you will.
I will.
You're making two jokes. That is
Yeah.
2.8, which is coming out
True.
at the beginning of 2017,
Correct.
Yes.
and 358 Days Over 2, which is the DS exclusive, where you got to play as Organization 13. Get out.
Wasn't
That was
even intended.
a great one.
That was a great one. That was a good one.
Yes.
All about my boy Lexaeus. Try to follow us. We're deep in Kingdom Hearts Final Fantasy.
Yeah, let's do this.
All right,
Down the
let's
rabbit hole.
Talk to me about the key sword.
That's the
all-
keyblade.
yeah, that's all I wanna talk about.
It locks the darkness away from the world and saves the light. You want to
just-
fight? I'll kill you.
I don't. I saw an Al Qaeda meme where the guy was running around with a key sword the other day.
That's
I just
terrifying.
I was dying a little
See,
bit inside.
but I mean, openly admit,
So-
Kingdom Hearts convoluted. But that's aside from the point. Way too much up their own business. But
Yeah.
Oh, and I was just gonna say, like, I've lived in this, like, in a Venn diagram of interests, like, our interests overlap. There's a huge overlap there, right? But I've kind of lived this life, like, Final Fantasy and to a lesser degree Kingdom Hearts adjacent. Like, I know it exists, I understand the passion, and I literally have no idea what anybody's talking about. And I've been looking for an entry point literally since 7. I owned 7, skipped it, kind of, because I couldn't get past the combat, because it was an ADD child. I don't know why there's past tense. I am very ADD.
I am an ADD child.
And yes. And so, like, that's one of the reasons I'm just, like, genuinely excited about 15 again, is it feels like a really good entry point. Again, their talk track has been around. We're making it accessible. This is always somebody's first Final Fantasy. Like, and I'm hoping I can kind of jump in there and be part of all of that.
Do you know the history of Final Fantasy 15?
I know that it's been in development for the better part of 10 years.
Yes. Final Fantasy
remember-
versus the 13.
Right.
Supposed to be on the PS3, early on the PS3, and here we are.
I remember when it was announced,
Yes.
and I loved the fact that it had a release date earlier this year, and then they pushed it another 2.5 months. It was just like, of course they did.
But that was one of those things.
Expected at this
Right.
point.
It was at that point where you're like, at least it's 2 months and not like 2 years.
It's weird.
True.
This year we
Step
had
up.
Duke Nukem Forever end of last year, right? No, I'm just saying, like, these vaporware projects. Last Guardian, which praise be Jesus, that actually comes out, because
finally
until
coming
I have it in my hands, I won't believe it. It's
true.
We have now Final Fantasy 15, and then we had, like, this Duke Nukem Forever, which, I mean, all three had been kind of projects that had been rumored for however long. And to a lesser degree, Overwatch, right? Like, Project Titan was in development for 8-9 years.
But at least the other three had been announced.
Right.
And footage shown.
I agree.
Assets shown. Pre-orderable at your local game store. And, like, there's a guy who had his original receipt for Duke Nukem Forever, and they honored it.
That's awesome.
Because
That's
damn
great.
right they
You're
did.
damn
That's
right.
great.
But
Yeah.
like for context, right? So from the time Final Fantasy 15 was announced, Naughty Dog has released Uncharted 1, 2, 3, Last of Us 4, and the remaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since
Yeah.
this
And,
game,
and a trilogy collection.
Yes.
since this game was announced,
Yeah.
that's like what 6 games.
Essentially.
In the time that this game was announced, it's crazy to me. You talk about Sony's first-party studios having a problem. Anyway, I know this is Square and it's not first-party, but
That's
like
okay.
for a while
We'll
it was
talk more about
second-party.
Final Fantasy
Yep.
15 when we
Okay.
do the next
We'll get
Final
there.
Fantasy movie.
Yes, we will.
Let's talk about our cast. We
Ooh.
got it's a very big cast,
Yeah,
so
it
I
is.
just kind of
Yes.
pulled out the main folk. Steve Burton as Cloud Strife, Rachel Lee Cook as Tifa Lockhart, Mina Suvari sparingly as Aerith Gainsborough, Steve Bloom as Vincent Valentine, Steve Staley as Kadaj, Fred Tedashore as Laws, Dave Wittenberg as Yazoo, depends on who you ask, which language you're listening in, George Newbern as Sephiroth, and a lot of other folks as a lot of the supporting cast. No disrespect to them, but it's a lot of people and we got a short show.
Yeah.
So, I do have to say, as much as I enjoy watching this movie in Japanese, I really like Steve Burton as Cloud.
I think he does a great job. Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised with the English cast and just how well the dub kind of seemed to translate.
The dub, yes. The performances, yes. Some of the timing of the script and the dialogue seemed thrown off a little bit
Gets
by
a
the
little
change to
wonky.
English. It gets a little wonky. Just like, hey, don't be a baby. Are you crying? No. Like, the timing of that is a little different. But
Right.
Is it a timing problem or is it a localization problem? Because something was definitely lost. All of my quotes in this movie were like, wait, what?
Sorry?
What was
What was
that? But I felt like it was like it's hard to laugh at when it is a localization problem. So I don't know where that stems from. I don't thoughts.
What do you think?
Is it just the nature of the humor that's present, or is it genuinely something's lost in translation?
I don't know that there were any like very, very like concepts that would be
Strictly
funny
Japanese?
just for Japan versus for us. Because there are definitely some when especially in anime, if it translates over, you're like, I don't understand why that's funny.
All of your base are now belong to us.
Yeah. Meanwhile, someone who speaks Japanese and understands the culture
Right.
is like, that's super funny. Like, that's hilarious.
Now, when I say language barrier, I don't necessarily mean Japanese. I mean Final Fantasy. People
Yes.
who
Oh.
speak
Yep.
Final
Yep.
Fantasy.
Okay. Well, yes.
The change seems to be a little bit more fitting in Japanese versus English, where it's just like,
Hold on.
hold on wait, it's like the woman figuring out sciences and geometries. But performance-wise, what did you think, Patrick? Since we had a little discussion about it, but what did you think performance-wise?
I mean, it was fine.
Yeah.
Nothing blew me away. I mean, like, what was interesting to me really was the technology on display. Like, early on, like we talked about the hair tech, and actually we'll, like, in that major fight around the fountain, the crowd tech.
Yeah.
Again, for
Oh.
2005 was
great.
unbelievable. Individual animations by, historically it's really easy to, copy and paste those individual, and so you'll see repetitive characters in crowds. It was incredibly well done. So for me, that's what stuck out in this film. There's not any performance when I went, oh, I like what that person is doing. I'm really into that. I mean, really not one.
This whole film seemed like a platform for the Final Fantasy VII franchise, let alone just Final Fantasy,
Right.
as well as the tech that we have seen in Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasies 11, 12, 13,
Sure.
13, 2, 13, 3, 14, and now 15. I wish there weren't. I wish there weren't 3 13s, because I would say play the 13, because that's a great representation of what Final Fantasy is like today.
At what point do we just change the naming convention? Because it's getting absurd.
Well, because they also added subtitles, so it's like 13-2 Lightning's Return.
I know.
13. I forget it, but
They want to be complicated.
Apparently.
You need to be in the know to understand.
At some point you just need to. And like a lot of, whatever, at the beginning of this console generation, a lot of those sequel things got title of the IP colon whatever, right? Like Assassin's Creed flipped that way. Like you look at Killzone, like those types of things. At some point, you just need a reset.
Well, and once you get past the trilogy, you've got to you can't just do numbers or else it'll seem tired.
It sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 15 sounds insane.
It does.
It seems like more of a legacy. And again, we'll talk more about 15 next week.
I'm gonna keep me on track. ADD, right, coming back over and over again.
So what could be called the plot of this movie? Essentially, we've got three mysterious villains, Kadaj, Loz, and Yazoo, that are they're looking for Mother. That's all that we find out through the majority of it. And that leads to them hunting down Cloud, because Cloud's was a part of the Soldier Project, as was Sephiroth, as was a lot of folks. It gets really circular, but the essential plot is they're trying to revive Sephiroth one way or another, and kill the planet, move on to the next one. Is what gets revealed by Sephiroth later in the movie. Cool. Do you think that it got muddled with its own lore?
Yes.
Cool.
I'd like to second that motion.
But,
no,
absolutely. I think that it got lost in trying to kind of pile on all these extras. And what is actually a very simple, straightforward mission, what they were trying to do, ends up going through all kinds of really weird and, in some cases, very nonsensical moves that they start making.
Yeah, I can see that. Like in the when Cloud first meets up with Rude, Reno, and Shinra, and the president of the Shinra Corporation, Rufus Shinra, a lot of R's in the room. They're trying to have a serious conversation, and Reno, being that like outside of the room, you could totally edit it out because he's not seen. There's no animation scene. Breaks in like. Ruins the whole situation and sort of breaks up the first little bit of plot understanding that we were getting, and then the scene ends and then we move on.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, no. Let's get a little bit more plot going.
Give us the backstory that we need. Give us the direction that we're going to be going in, and let us go.
Agreed.
But to cut us off in the middle of it, then it's very hard to get back on track after that.
Yeah. Any of the stuff with Rufus Shinra was helpful in understanding the story, despite him being a total jerk. Sweet looking dude with a towel on his head, just kind of on it,
just kind of hanging out. Seemed kind of. Didn't you just want to go?
Yeah, a little bit.
I was like, oh my god, brush it out of my face.
Driving me crazy. Totally. Yeah, I got this weird tick. I'm like, come on, man, come on.
You were talking about hair tech, the towel tech. Ooh, going back and forth.
It's because the hair's wiggling underneath it, which caused the fabric.
That's what it was.
Yeah, it's just.
See, look at that. You made sense of it.
Double animation.
Glad we're here together.
Let's plot cool. Dig it. It's fine. I'm excited to now go and watch the director's cut, which hopefully it supposedly has more about Cloud's backstory and more on his how he fits in all of this, which is I guess what fans want, because Cloud and Sephiroth are kind of the two. I'd say they're the two most notable characters from the Final Fantasy franchise.
That's who I knew. Yeah. I mean, totally. And like, I think what a cool thing, right? Like, I'm not going to knock it because I don't understand it, but I have been very passionate about certain IPs. And if there were a film like this that was just completely impenetrable, but for people who like wanted to do this deep dive, like I would be all about this. Yeah. Totally. Like, if you had a Last of Us film that just like skipped all of that shit and just started with Joel and Ellie somewhere or whatever.
And you got pieces back of the night.
I mean, totally. Whatever. And so, I'm just trying to find a parallel there for me, or whatever that analog is. But like, I bet people lost their minds at this. People that like when those characters are that near and dear, and like that's a special feeling when you've been on a journey, and especially RPG, 80, 90 hours with somebody, and you've saved the world ostensibly or whatever. Like, how cool was it to see like Cloud and Sephiroth fighting again? Like that must have been amazing for people.
I think a lot of and this isn't a slight on the Kingdom Hearts franchise, but I think that's the majority of the Final Fantasy VII, 8, 9 characters in the first game is probably what got people the Final Fantasy side into it, whereas the folks who weren't as familiar with it got into it from the Disney side. But that also had you fighting Sephiroth as a super secret boss.
Yes.
Okay.
Which the hardest boss in the game, no surprise. One of the best versions of One Winged Angel, by the way. But I want to talk a little bit about game similarities, because none of these were turn-based. Nobody waited their turn.
No.
I guess
I saw this set up a couple of times.
In the church, Tifa was doing a lot of the attacking, and then it was Loz's turn, and he won.
A little bit.
But we got summons. We summoned a Bahamut.
Sure.
It looked like Sephiroth. I thought he was going to cast Meteor, but he totally didn't. There's a lot of stuff that was adjacent.
Yeah.
That was Final Fantasy adjacent.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the coolest Easter egg was when Tifa takes Lowe's down and they're like, cool, we're over, and you hear the
Oh yeah, that was great.
Like,
that was good.
That was cool.
That was super. Yeah.
And it was just his ringtone.
Even not being into it, yeah, for sure. That was pretty dope.
Very good.
I liked it as well.
That was a lot of fun.
Probably my favorite moment of the film, as a matter of fact.
That's part of the reason why the church fight is my favorite one. The motorcycle fight was that's just them
shot
showing
incredibly well.
I enjoyed it.
Well said. That is them showing off. They're like, you want to see some shit? All right, yeah.
They earned that.
I totally agree. I thought that was rad. And again, if that movie had started there and ended at the end of it, I would have come in my speed run would have been longer than that entire part, and I would have been raving about it. Yeah, I know. See, there's so many moments, and that's where it's kind of this miss for me. Was I didn't really understand a lot of it, nor was it I was into it. But when things got going, I was like, all right, let's see what they come up with. And again, that Steadicam stuff was so cool when it was right along. Oh, it's great.
All right, so I don't know if y'all knew this, but Nomura's an artsy guy.
Oh,
Tetsuya Nomura is a very artsy fella, and in developing the movie, he wanted it to differ from regular movies in Hollywood. I should say the staff. Him as the figurehead and the staff in its entirety wanted viewers to be able to interpret the scenes. So there wasn't a direct. There was a message to. There were many messages to be found in each scene. A lot of it, as we saw, was about Cloud feeling guilt over watching his compatriot Zack die, which isn't even in Final Fantasy. It happens before Final Fantasy, to the point where they made a separate game on the PSP about that, where you play as Zack, and that's how he gets the Buster Sword. And how, sorry for anybody that this might ruin, the fact that Aerith gets killed at the end of Final Fantasy VII. They're near the end of Final Fantasy VII.
Really?
Shut up.
Literally, yeah, no. That's what's 1,000,000,140,000. It was the first spoiler. I'm all right.
That might be the first major video game spoiler where people are like,
I know. No,
I was gonna play it.
Yeah, I know. And at some point, I was I know. But even then, I know. I was I was never gonna get that. That's 80 hours deep in some turn-based nonsense.
Yeah, can't get that far.
Nope.
So all of this was supposed to be sort of a vehicle for Cloud. And how do you feel the bravery of a crew to be like, you know what? You figure it out. Do you think that's lazy, or do you think that they were trying for everybody to find their own meaning?
Wait, what do you mean? Break that down.
So because Nomura and the team wanted people to interpret certain scenes for however they felt they were supposed to be. Do you feel like that's lazy screenwriting, or do you feel like that's new, that's different, that's, hey, instead of us talking about, the fights were cool and the graphics were cool, it's people going, man, I felt like in this moment you felt Tifa's sorrow about how she feels partly responsible for this that happened in the game. Do you think it's too... It locks too many non-fans out with that as well? Is it bold or is it lazy?
I think that's all in implementation.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that there are definitely, and we could quote example after example in Hollywood, where I think that is straight lazy, right? I think it is a shortcut, and remarkably, these films continually get made, right? So, spacing the name.
Sausage Party.
Yeah, there you go. Sausage Party. They have so much interpretation in that film. It's it's a cerebral
film. Oh, no, I thought you were talking about lazy.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't absolutely need to see that.
No, you don't. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I believe that. Refresh my memory. Who wrote Mulholland Drive? I will look that up in a moment. That's total bullshit that I don't know. My point is that is a film where I think it gets a lot of credit for quote unquote being artsy, and they say what's subject to your interpretation, and then there is a narrative through line, and I do not believe it. In this film, I think there probably is, and there's enough connective tissue to go, I can draw some conclusions.
David Lynch.
Lynch. So a lot of Lynchian films do that, and it's a problem. This one probably was there. Like I said, it wasn't accessible enough for me to do it, but I applaud films that treat their audience with some respect.
Yeah.
I just saw The Arrival this weekend, and The Arrival asks some questions of the audience and says, let you deal with it. You figure this out. And you feel rewarded for that. So there's an element of that where I think it's awesome. But again, it's all in execution because it can just be like, I don't know, let them figure that out. Fight Club, one of my favorite films of all time, asks all kinds of questions and then lets you wrestle with it.
Oh, yeah.
Genius stuff. So anyway, I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I don't think it was lazy, per se. I think that it was more ambitious and like a new way to look at it. I don't know if that was exactly the kind of film for it to be wildly successful in.
Sure.
I mean, for for people who are very, very deeply steeped in the lore and who understand, like, who take the time to understand all the character motivations, then yeah, they're probably, there's a lot there to interpret on your own, and I absolutely think that probably worked really well. But when you have such like a visual affair going on too, just makes it a lot going on for people who are a little more casual viewers.
Yeah, that I agree with that. I think it's not as beneficial to the casual viewer. Like Patrick, this isn't a good gateway into the franchise. It gets you introduced to some of the characters and some of the character relationships,
right?
But not exactly what the story is, and not what the appeal of the franchise actually is.
Right.
Well, and you don't get really any of their character arcs.
Right.
You get the aftermath of the character arcs that they've already, that you've already had to experience. And I think that those are the selling points. I mean, that first experience, that the gameplay of Final Fantasy VII, that would be the selling point. So this is just kind of extra
it's all fan service. I mean, I get it.
I think this will be a little bit. This is a weird middle ground from the release of Final Fantasy VII to the remake. Like, because this is the direct story, visual, look, fighting style of what we're going to be getting in the future.
We hope.
We hope.
Yes.
That's what it looked like from the promo.
I hope so. Yeah. So like, I actually want to go revisit this after having played the remake.
Yeah. Me
so
too.
Because I think there's an interesting question you asked Mark about those gaps and the interpretation. Like the other example would be Terrence Malick, right? Like Tree of Life, all this nonsense where it's like, is there something there? Maybe. This doesn't feel like that at all. I just feel like if I knew the source material a little bit better, I'd be better equipped to understand kind of what they were trying to convey.
Really quickly in the chat, East Blue Drew says, I think a movie on a Zack story would have been a better idea. So that way we get a full introduction to not just the world and the characters, but this actual story.
Yeah.
So to kick you into the game.
Well, yeah, and the very in-depth history that brought about all of this in the first place. That would be a good starting point, and that would be a much more accessible starting point for people who are not previous players of the game.
Yeah.
So I agree.
And that's one of the things that I like doing here is there are some movies where we know that it's a popular franchise. This one, Resident Evil, we know the movies do great. They're not that connected with the games, but we hold such reverence for this medium, for the medium of video games that we want to talk about it. We want to discuss it. This for little old Animu Otaku Mark in 2005, this movie was everything. I watched this movie, or rather, I watched the fight scenes a lot, the in between stuff every now and again. I loved Reno. Probably had a lot to do with how I developed as a person. So it making us want. We want to be a part of this franchise after seeing stuff like this. So that's why we're hoping that there can be a bigger bridge. We're trying to bridge that gap between the movie and the game.
Yep.
So thank you for everybody who's joining us in chat.
Great.
We've actually had a lot of great opinions in here. Seriously.
No, I believe
absolutely.
it. The chat is amazing.
Alexi Cosmos asks, church scene from this movie versus the church scene in The Kingsman. Which one is better?
I mean, at the Kingsman. I'm sorry.
You think so?
I think that is one of the greatest fight scenes of all time.
It really is.
Of all time. I like this one for sure. Not to take anything away from this, but like, come on. I mean, that was revelatory in the way that like The Matrix was.
No, the tech behind it. Like both of these technical marvels, but the story implications in the Kingsman one bother me more. Because of what Harry is doing. To all of those technically innocent people.
Understood.
So that's one of my major problems with that movie. We're not talking about that movie right now.
Damn good question though.
But thank you.
Damn good question.
Yeah.
All right, so
fired up.
Let's speaking of opinions of the movie, going into critical, 33% of critics did not enjoy. It has a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes for the critics, 84% on audience, and for IMDb, 7.4 out of 10.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe all of that.
Fans are absolutely loving it. Scott Weinberg from DVD Clinic says, once the characters start spewing out reams of dialogue about Geostigma, Sephiroth, and Genova, my eyeballs involuntarily start to glaze over. Now, that's somebody who's not willing to learn.
Or doesn't have a frame of reference. This again. This is not. That's why that fan score is orders of magnitude higher than maybe critics who have been who are unfamiliar. And this has to be a standalone piece of, fiction, and it does not do that. It is unsuccessful in that endeavor.
Which is unfortunate.
But if you fan service, you lose your mind. I get why that score is so high.
Yeah. All of us again. This makes us want to be a part of this franchise.
Yeah, totally.
That's the point of media like this. This didn't have a theatrical release. This was straight to DVD. So this wasn't trying to be a mainstream product, but by being associated with the most popular Final Fantasy franchise, it has to be.
Fair enough.
Jeffrey Chen from Window to the Movie says, the battle scenes during which all normal physics go straight out the window are exhilarating and in a disorienting thrill ride way. And I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Who wants normal physics in your fight scene?
So, as much as I don't want to do this, since we are running low on time, we're going to skip our favorite line segment. We're gonna post them on Twitter, and we're gonna get to casting a live action Final Fantasy VII movie. The Final Fantasy VII franchise is still enormous, still amazing. We're getting the remake, so that is presumably gonna do gangbusters. And now Hollywood wants to make a movie. We are the people who are going to be casting it.
True story.
Patrick, you have a specific. You actually brought some homework to share.
I did a little bit.
Let's talk about Cloud Strife.
This is some inside baseball, but a lot of you who have seen some shows with me, who've watched both our sister network AfterBuzz and some Popcorn Talk shows, you may know Dave Klein. He does all of the Dark Souls Lores video, and I'm not saying he is Cloud Strife, but I've never seen Cloud and Dave Klein in the room at the same time.
You know, that's fair.
I can't prove that he's not Cloud Strife.
Yeah.
I just keep walking around with a big sword. It's definitely Dave. So find Dave on Klein. He's Dave Klein on Twitter because the guy does some amazing work. My actual pick was coming back to. We'll get to that.
We'll get to her.
That's my Tifa in a moment. My actual pick for Cloud was Taron Egerton from Kingsman.
Weird how that came back around.
I did, and I loved it when they mentioned that because I thought he would be an amazing young Cloud. The dude seems like a warrior. He seems like he's a little bit conflicted, could be a little bit emo in a way that Cloud could feel sorry for himself. For me, that was a layup, and I actually think he's one of Hollywood's bright young talents.
I love that. I think that's a great casting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's going to be the only one you say that about for the rest of my time.
Well,
yeah, I'm just saying.
Okay, that was a good one. So I went through a couple of different iterations, and I think that the closest I came to being able to pull off that kind of mid-2000s emo. I mean, that's really what was at the height. I think Nicholas Hoult might be.
Okay.
Really?
And I think he could.
Could work.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like
it could
that.
work.
But I still like yours better.
It could work.
Liam Hemsworth.
That is on my list as one of my possibilities.
All right, because I like him because he's that lean buff and he's big with the kids. And
you'd have to lean out a little bit more, though. Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, but no, it's a good pick. I just had to digest it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Did anybody have a second one, or should we move on to Tifa?
Did you have a second one?
I didn't.
Okay. No, I'm good.
No. All right, Tifa. I actually have several for this one based on look, based on performance, based on character type.
Who do you have?
Okay.
Emily Blunt.
I feel like so Emily, she's my knee jerk, and every week
knee-jerk.
I want to come back because she's so talented, and we talk a lot about. We watch a lot of movies with a lot of ass kickery, and she's she is such an ass kicker.
Oh yeah.
And so every time we talk, I run the danger of wanting to cast her in all of our films, but she was my first choice as well. So now I totally.
She was like our Oscar Isaacs back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah. What about you?
So I think let's see. What's my favorite? I think Chloe Bennett would be a good Tifa.
I like Chloe Bennett a lot. From Shield.
Thank you.
Yes.
Got it.
She's great.
Yeah, I think she would kind of kill it at that role.
I think also for going Tifa is relatively youthful, but has a worldly quality where it's like, wow, she's been through some shit.
Yep.
I like that one a lot. I said Scarlett Johansson, and it's not just because I saw the Ghost in the Shell.
Oh,
trailer.
interesting.
See, I specifically avoided her.
Yeah.
Did you
for
really?
I did, yeah.
Just not having
but
it?
also it wasn't a quite fit to me either. I think.
Okay. That was
But-
just that was my knee jerk where I thought Emily Blunt was a big deal. Why don't we move on to let's do our villains. Let's do our villains. Let's start with Yazoo.
I didn't do my TiVo real quick.
Oh, you didn't?
yeah.
Oh, I thought you had.
Right.
You mentioned Emily Blunt as your knee jerk. I thought.
No,
that was a choice.
sorry. So I moved away from it because I was hesitant. I actually really like I butcher her name every time, but Chloe Grace Moretz, kick ass.
Yeah.
So she again quite a little ass kicker. I think she'd be great. She was great in like Let Me In. Also friend of the show. Also used to do this in Kiori Take.
Yes.
Would be an unbelievable Tifa.
She's done Tifa as a cosplay.
I did
before.
not know that. I know she's done Tomb Raider. I know she does Psylocke.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway.
Just,
Can we just cast our friends? I just want you to be. I've got you
You're
as
in charge.
Sephiroth.
I'll be Red 13.
I've got him as Sephiroth.
That's
That's a big disconnect there going on.
You're like, wait a minute.
Well.
We got to talk through your casting decisions.
I know.
dude.
All right, let's
guys.
talk about our
Kadaj?
three. Let's end with Kadaj.
Okay.
Let's start at the bottom. Let's go Yazoo.
Oh my god, did I miss Yazoo?
I don't have a Yazoo.
You don't
I
have
missed
Yazoo?
Yazoo.
I don't.
Okay.
I do not have.
All right,
Who do you have?
So
Yeah.
did anybody do Lowe's?
Nope.
No.
Nobody did Lowe's.
Nope.
So y'all did Kadaj.
Kadaj and
Okay,
Sephiroth.
so I'll go with mine.
Yeah. What do you
Yes.
got?
I'll start with Lowe's. Tom Hardy, Bruiser, low to the ground, can really nail that lightning gauntlet.
The best actor of our
Agreed.
generation.
Yes.
And I picked my Yazoo based on my Kadaj because they're similar and
good
they go
man.
off as
Okay.
clones.
Okay.
Clones. So I went Yazoo, Daniel Radcliffe,
Nice.
Kadaj, McAvoy.
Man, I would watch that movie.
Like
I don't
that,
care. I don't
yeah.
care what's going on. They could just be literally just drinking tea and reading of the phone book to each other. I would tune
Perfect.
into that. I'm on board.
Yeah.
It's-
I
it's
think
good.
they would add a
good.
little bit more weight to
That's good.
this.
That's good.
But who the rest do you have as Kadaj?
So I went weird with Kadaj because I
Okay.
think that dude's just weird in general, and I wanted
Yeah.
to really lean into weird, and I want a lot of CGI involved with Steve Buscemi. I want it to just be really disturbing, just like what's going on with Kadaj.
Kadaj
Okay.
is like.
He's a teenager.
I understand,
Also
but like that's what I'm saying. That's why I said CGI. I
Alright,
want like
alright.
a weird, fucked up.
But the eyes stay.
Yes.
They say in the movie that he is a larva. That is said by another character
It
that
is.
he is a larva.
Steve Buscemi reminds me of a
Steve-
larva.
Alright.
Again, I've never seen a larva and Steve Buscemi at the same place at the same time. I don't
Well,
know. I'm just. I know. I told you I was getting
proven
weird with that one. Who do you have, Stace?
that. I chose Eddie Redmayne.
Redmayne, I like that a lot
Oh,
too.
that is
I
actually.
think-
So mine was a stupid choice. Yeah, that's great. Redmayne's
I
awesome.
think he would be
Yeah.
perfectly
No, he'd
fitting
be
for that.
perfect.
And
Yeah.
I think he could like. I was gonna say McAvoy, but they would probably change the hair up a bit. I can see Eddie Redmayne pulling off the hair.
Oh, he totally.
Oh,
Oh,
without- yeah,
totally.
without-
He would
fail.
get sucked all like right into the role. Organization 13 adjacent leather jacket and all.
Totally.
Hell yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So let's talk about Sephiroth.
Do it. Who do you have?
Yeah. Okay, so I
Yeah,
had two.
go
I
ahead.
had
Sorry.
my original. My knee jerk was Tom Hiddleston, not the one I ended up choosing. Because I was like, who could be like that super like very calm evil? And he's kind of the first person that popped into my head.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he could
Reserved.
totally pull it
Yeah.
off. He
Yeah,
would
he could.
absolutely
Yeah.
pull it off.
A little removed. I like it.
Yeah, I like that a lot too.
I like it.
But I will raise you a Lee Pace.
No,
Who would-
it's
Nope,
Lee Pace.
nope.
Who
It's
would
Lee Pace.
just decimate
Yeah.
it.
I don't
Oh.
even. Just gonna
You're just crossing yours
cross
off.
mine out. Dude, I mean, Lee Pace can do no wrong.
Oh, yeah.
I think he nails the temperament, and we get a little bit of it from a lot of his different roles.
He's been kind of working towards the perfect villain for a while, and I think he would just nail.
There
He is the
Sephiroth.
perfect
Just-
villain.
Just absolutely.
Goodness, Patrick, do you have anything for that?
For Sephiroth?
Yeah.
Not that can compete with either of those. Hiddleston's a great choice as well. I kind of like Colin Farrell. I know it's weird, but I think that he's an impossibly talented actor
Yeah.
and a chameleon. I think like you put him in a role so you can just own that, and he can be terrifying in a weird way. I also think because I think he's also talented but super bland and seems to fit Sephiroth is Jeremy Renner. a little weird.
Well,
Again, I know they're
Sephiroth.
unconventional picks, but I kind of like. Renner could own the hair too.
Yeah, I was trying to fit Jeremy Renner in somewhere else. I didn't really consider him for Sephiroth, but I like that.
I think he's too
there's
reserved.
Okay.
He's a different type of reserve.
Okay.
Because he's calm or sort of quiet in a lot of things. I can't see him exploding, and I know Sephiroth doesn't, and he's calm and he's cool and he's collected, and he can handle any problem thrown at him because he's such a badass.
It was the line when Sephiroth says, "Tell me what you cherish." Right, and then I want to destroy it. I could just see Renner delivering that so cold. It was that line.
That's true. He could destroy that line.
He would destroy it. I don't know that he's a good fit for the entirety, but that's when I was making my casting decision. If that was in the sides,
yeah, I gotta go Lee Pace.
Okay,
that's so
sold.
good. Bonus round. Barrett is either Terry Crews and The Rock. All right.
I got a Reno and a Rude for you real fast.
Oh, you do?
My dynamic duo. So I have 2 for Reno, but as Rude, it's going to be The Rock for both of them, paired with either Alan Tudyk or Ryan Reynolds.
I'm gonna go Tudyk.
I'm gonna go Tudyk.
I like me some Ryan Reynolds, but Tudyk would destroy
Tudyk and
that.
The Rock, just
oh my god,
Reno and Rude,
all day long.
Done.
Dude, Rock as Rude though.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't want to gloss over your Terry Crews. I thought that was
Well, no, Terry Crews for Barrett.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That is like so he would destroy that like mechanized arm. I feel like that the Old Spice commercials were just grooming him for that role.
He is preparing.
Yeah.
He's ready now. That's it.
Yeah.
Wax on, wax.
This is a lot of fun. Let us know. Let us know who you want in these parts. We did Sephiroth. We did Cloud, Tifa, Kadaj, Loz, Yazoo. Please let us know in the comments down below, or let us know on Twitter. Thank everybody humbly for joining us in this live chat. This is a very serious franchise. This is a very serious game for people. Thank you people who own it for letting us play around with it, because as we've mentioned previously, we're trying to have this be a gateway into the Final Fantasy series. Everybody's been really accepting. So please, we are excited for the re-release of Final Fantasy
Absolutely.
17. That's what it feels like. Final Fantasy VII.
I'm excited about 17.
We're excited for the re-release of Final Fantasy VII next year. In 2 weeks, we're going to be back. We're going to be doing Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive in celebration of Final Fantasy 15. But before we go, last thing, game over or extra life for the Final Fantasy VII film franchise.
I mean, game over. It doesn't hold much for me. Like I'm not involved in that franchise. So like, I mean, again, it's hard for me to even weigh in. But
yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about what makes a good video game movie, and for fans, I think this is actually a pretty good example of what makes a good video game movie. So I don't know that there's more to tell with Final Fantasy VII, though. I think we can move on to some of the other
bigger and better.
Yeah, I think we can.
I want to get onto that bro road trip in 15.
Bro trip.
The bro trip.
Some of the folks in the chat are saying if they expand on different side characters they'd be in.
Okay.
And I agree with that.
Yes.
I like the idea of a Zack movie.
I'd watch
Somebody's
a
even
Tifa
saying
film.
a Red 13 movie. I would
I'd watch
Tifa movie.
Tifa would be
All
awesome.
about
Yes.
it. So I would have to say this I love this movie despite it the flaws that I feel it has for a wide audience, but I'm going to give it an extra life because as a franchise, Final Fantasy VII has a lot of stories still to tell, and I'm excited to hear them being told. So remember, next 2 weeks, Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive. Where can the folks find you on Twitter?
You can find me at P to the Dees. Tweet at me, tell me like what I missed here at Final Fantasy. Hello, Dave. Hello, Kaori. And also, I do a lot of things. You can follow Mark and myself. We do a lot of the Rooster Teeth stuff here at Popcorn Talks. So find us in our sister network, AfterBuzz.
You can find me on Twitter at Stacey Shuttles. I'm also on Instagram, and I'm all over the web at Nerds Doing Stuff. And we're working on a few things. I'm a little quiet right now because I'm working on stuff for a craft fair online. But
oh, God.
Nice.
I know. Taking up all my time now. But I'll be back online soon.
Speaking of Nerds Doing Stuff, I wrote an article for the WWE comic Then, Now, and Forever, which is on that website. Read it if you're a wrestling fan. As Patrick said, on our sister network AfterBuzz TV, we're doing a whole bunch of stuff for Ruby. If you're a Red vs. Blue fan, we have a contest running. Follow me on Twitter at Mark Donica for more information on that. But until then, you can follow all of us here on Twitter at The Popcorn Talk. Leave us a review on iTunes, some comments down below. We will see you next time. Bro Trip!
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.